Before we begin, take one moment. This isn't about fame. It isn't about wealth. It's not even about power in the way most people understand it. This is a story about a laugh. One man laughed at centuries of discipline until he saw what happened when a silent force decided to answer without words. And when that moment came, the richest man in the world was left standing silent. Because sometimes true authority doesn't shout. It simply doesn't move. If you're new here, subscribe for powerful real-life stories every week. And let us know in the comments, would you have moved if you were the guard, or stood your ground like stone? Now, without further ado, let's begin. Chapter 1. The Gate That Never Blinked. The January sky hung heavy over London like an unspoken warning. Buckingham Palace, that fortress of old stone and older traditions, stood shrouded in grey silence. Tourists had been cleared for a private diplomatic event. No royal fanfare, no trumpets, no waving from balconies, just a courtyard under pale light and a guard who hadn't blinked in over 25 minutes. Warrant Officer Callum Reyes stood immobile at the northwest ceremonial gate, the kind only diplomats and royals ever pass through. His red tunic looked painted on, and the white gloves clutched the SA-80 rifle like it was fused into bone. He had stood like this in heat, in rain, in snow, and he had stood like this in war. Because Reyes wasn't just a guard. Before this, he was 3rd Platoon, Royal Marines, Fallujah, Helmand, Kunduz, 3 tours, 0 injuries. A record not of luck, but of precision. He was known for one thing in the ranks. He never flinched. And on this morning, as part of a state tech reception called the Crown Tech Initiative, Warrant Officer Reyes was about to be tested in a way no battlefield had ever dared. The arrival that didn't bow. He didn't come with a motorcade. No motorcycles, no black sedans, no velvet ropes. He drove himself. A matte black Tesla Cybertruck, completely out of place among the historic stone, slid to a halt near the iron gates. He got out casually, one hand in his pocket, the other adjusting his jacket. No tie, no visible security. Just a deep blue suit, designer sneakers, and that smirk that had launched rockets and ruined stock markets. Elon Musk. Aides flanked him awkwardly. British protocol officers rushed toward him, gentle, polite, tight-lipped. "Mr. Musk, if you'll follow the carpeted path." He walked past them, didn't stop. "You Brits really love velvet ropes," he muttered. "You know they invented wheels, right?" No one responded, because one doesn't interrupt a billionaire in stride, even when that stride is heading straight for a guard post. Musk stopped 10 feet from Reyes, tilted his head. "Are they real?" he asked an aide beside him. "Or is this like that theme park stuff? You know, wax figures with a slow rotation setting?" The aide offered a polite chuckle. Reyes didn't move, didn't react. Man, Imagine training your whole life to cosplay as a wall. He stepped closer. Too close. Violation of the invisible line. The Queen's Guard operates under centuries-old codes of proximity, contact, and ceremony. There are lines you don't cross, physically or figuratively. Musk wasn't interested in lines. He was interested in responses, and Warrant Officer Reyes gave him none. So Musk walked directly in front of the guard, leaned slightly forward, and tapped the brim of Reyes's bearskin cap with one index finger. You blink, you lose. There was no sound, no movement, just cold steel in the wind. A second passed, then two, and then Reyes moved, but not the way Musk expected. He didn't step forward. He didn't raise his rifle. He didn't even break formation. He spoke. One sentence. Physical contact with Her Majesty's Guard is a sovereign breach under Statute 147B, Section 3A, punishable by immediate expulsion. His voice was low, clear, British, not angry, final. Musk blinked. You're quoting a law. Reyes did not reply. The smirk begins to slip. So, Musk said, taking a step back but not removing the smirk from his lips. You're like a British NPC, yeah? Programmed to cite royal rules like Siri in a red jacket? He turned to his aides. Let's live stream this. Call it Obsolete Institutions, Volume Eek. A camera was raised. A recording light blinked. Musk turned back to Reyes. Smile, soldier. You're on the blockchain now. Reyes didn't move. Inside the palace, the buzz of conversation changed pitch. People had heard, not from gossip, from radio, from silent texts passed between security posts. And in the Royal Operations Room, Commander Miles Thatcher, the head of palace security, was already moving. He's touched the guard, Thatcher confirmed. Yes, sir, on the headgear, and he's filming. Unacceptable. The past rises in stillness. What Elon Musk and the watching world didn't know was this. Warrant Officer Callum Reyes wasn't standing still. Inside, he was on fire. Not with rage, with memory. Flashback. Afghanistan, 2009. Sand in his eyes. Sun overhead like a god with no mercy. A boy, maybe 10, ran toward their convoy holding something. Everyone screamed. Everyone raised weapons. Reyes stood his ground, eyes narrowed. He didn't fire. The boy tripped. The bomb spilled open. Rocks. Just rocks. Later that night, his CO barked at him. You could have got us all killed. Reyes replied, calm. I waited, because no one else would. That was the moment he became what others in his unit would later call the anchor. Not flashy, not loud, but unshakable. Back in the courtyard, his eyes, though fixed, were processing everything. The camera, the finger, the laughter, and the storm building in the distance. The diplomatic disaster. Inside the palace, foreign dignitaries were being informed quietly. The Japanese envoy raised an eyebrow. He touched the rifle? The French ambassador. He mocked the uniform? The Crown Prince of Jordan. He filmed it? British officials were now split between rage and dread. One misstep, one leaked clip, one viral misquote. And this would escalate from insult to incident. In a side room, Princess Charlotte, not yet in public view, observed the camera feed. "He thinks tradition is a prop," she murmured. An aide beside her nodded. And yet, the only man not performing is the one being filmed. The warning. Back outside, Musk continued. "I could build a bot to do this job. Wouldn't flinch. Wouldn't cite protocol either." Reyes said nothing. "You afraid of change, mate? Afraid the future doesn't need you?" Then, his fatal error. He stepped past the line, crossed the sacred invisible line between guard and guest, placed 1 foot inside the ceremonial boundary, 1 inch from Reyes's boots. That's when Commander Thatcher arrived. Not rushing. Walking, deliberate. British. "Mr. Musk." Elon turned. "You're the hall monitor?" "I'm the head of sovereign protocol for this estate," Thatcher replied. "And you are now 1 sentence away from diplomatic expulsion." Musk laughed. "Oh, come on. Really? You're going to call the Queen because I touched a toy soldier?" "That toy soldier," Thatcher said coolly, "has seen more war than you've seen real consequences." "So what? He's the palace attack dog now." "He is a shield," Thatcher said, "and you're mistaking his stillness for emptiness." A beat passed. No one spoke. And the camera kept rolling. The unraveling. Musk's smirk cracked, just slightly. The silence around him wasn't passive anymore. It had grown weighted. From the windows of the palace, faces were watching. From balconies, security was pausing. A tourist who'd managed to sneak a peek from beyond the gates whispered, "Is he being confronted by a guard?" Another murmured, "Number, he's being outclassed by 1." Musk looked back at Reyes. "You really gonna keep standing there? Not say anything? I could fire you right now on Twitter." Reyes didn't blink. "I could make your name a meme by noon." Reyes didn't shift. "You know silence is weakness, right?" And then Reyes moved. Just 1 step forward. His boot hit the stone with a sound like finality. He didn't raise his weapon. He didn't even speak. But it felt like a verdict. Musk raised his hands sarcastically. "Oh, the robot moves. What's next? Gonna shoot a laser from your eyes?" Then the second step. Now Reyes was standing 1/2 meter from him. Still no expression. But the world felt like it had changed axes. Commander Thatcher stepped in. "Mr. Musk, this is your final warning." "Yeah?" Musk shot back. "Or what?" "Or," Thatcher said quietly, "we let the protocol finish what you started." Musk scoffed. "Let the protocol." Then Reyes finally spoke. Just once. A single sentence. In a tone colder than metal and older than pride. "You touched the crown today, Mr. Musk. Not with your hand, but with your disregard." Silence. "The crown doesn't shout, sir. It remembers." The turning. Inside the palace, the ripple was complete. The American ambassador stood. The Minister of Defense removed his earpiece, and the Queen, watching from a private chamber, said quietly, "That one, the still one, he understands." Back in the courtyard, Musk finally looked around. Not with confidence, with something closer to recognition. He realized he was alone. Even his aides had taken a step back. The cameras had stopped recording. The crowd didn't jeer, didn't cheer. They watched. And in that silence, Musk shrank. Not physically, but publicly. Commander Thatcher gestured to a side exit. "You'll be escorted to your vehicle." Musk looked as though he might argue. Then he saw Reyes take a half-step back into position. Back into perfect stillness. And he said nothing. He turned, walked away, and for the first time in a very long time, no one followed. The aftermath. That night, the footage was never leaked. The Crown refused to comment. Musk's team released no statements. But behind closed doors, every foreign guest remembered. Not the tech speech. Not the AI demos. Not the wine pairings. They remembered the man in red, who didn't flinch, didn't move, didn't yield. And when he finally did, he said more with a whisper than any billionaire ever had with a broadcast. The world watches. There are silences that fade, and there are silences that echo. What happened at Buckingham Palace that day was never televised, never officially released. No breaking news banner ran it. No press conference mentioned it. But the world knew. They knew because something had shifted. Every person in that courtyard, every staffer, diplomat, officer, tourist, had become a carrier of the moment. And as they returned to homes and offices and embassies, their stories rippled outward. He didn't even blink. Musk couldn't break him. That guard was steel. In a week when tech headlines were meant to rule the cycle, something else took hold. Strength without spectacle. Online, the footage didn't leak. But pixelated stills did. Blurry screenshots. An aide's shaky phone shot from behind a gate. They showed two things. Elon Musk, hand raised mid-gesture. A man in red, rifle gripped, unmoving, unbroken. One photo in particular went viral. It was captioned only, The Guard That Held. Damage control. Inside a penthouse suite at the Langham Hotel, Elon Musk paced. The lights were dimmed. His phone was silent. And for the first time in recent memory, his inbox was full of silence. "Why aren't we controlling this?" he snapped at his PR director. "There's no footage," she replied flatly. "Exactly. Which means we own the story. Spin it." "There's no story to spin," she said. "You mocked a national symbol, touched a military figure, and got dismissed by a man who said 9 words. It was more than 9. The world remembers 9. Later that evening, Musk posted a tweet. "Some people are still stuck in the past. I build the future. Buckingham tradito, let them stand." It bombed. Even his fans didn't like it. The top comment? "You got ratioed by a statue." Reyes under review. Meanwhile, across the city, inside the secured halls of Wellington Barracks, Warrant Officer Callum Reyes sat in a quiet room. Not a jail, but not free. He was not reprimanded. Not officially. But he had drawn attention. And attention, in the Royal Guard, is the one thing you're trained never to seek. "Why didn't you stand down?" a superior asked him. "Because I was standing up," Reyes replied. The room went quiet. "You could have caused a diplomatic rupture." "I didn't move until he crossed the line." "You spoke." "So did he." A long silence. "You're being transferred," they said finally. "Temporarily." "Where?" "You'll report to Inner Guard Detail. No public duty." "I understand." He rose, saluted, and left. His boots echoed through the barracks hall like they always had. But the silence that followed him now felt different. He wasn't being punished, but he was being contained. Within the palace. 2 days later, within the stone walls of St. James's Palace, Princess Charlotte sat with a thin man in wire-rimmed glasses, Sir Alton Graves, royal strategist. "They're muting him," she said. Graves adjusted his cuffs. "They're maintaining protocol." "He protected it." "He broke silence." "He used it," she countered. Graves hesitated. "You want him moved back?" "I want him knighted," she said bluntly. He looked up sharply. "That would trigger every old soul in the House of Lords." "Good," she said. "They've been asleep for decades.